23, man. We just that much closer to the Titans season start, man. It's been a long time coming. We started this thing in January. Was able to get a live watch along of the last game against the Jaguars. A terrible game, man. And now we back for another regular season game for the Titans, man. And here's the many more. But before we get started, let y'all know TFTV Sports will be having their live watch along on Sunday at 12 o'clock noon. That's what time the Titans play New Orleans in New Orleans. It'll be on Twitch and YouTube, just like y'all can find the Sports Section Morning Show. So make sure y'all tap in with that. It's going to be a really good time. We're going to have our fan sites afterwards. It's going to be a really, really, really good watch along. And hopefully we're there to see a win, man. I think we'll see a win. But get that out the way. Let's get this show started, man.
I know you heard of B. Will.
The Sports Section Morning Show.
Waking up this morning, waking up before it's getting 9. Kinda heavy on my shoulders, tracking out the moments back in time.
I know you heard of B.
I
Will.
could've swore that I was in it, down to every minute. Don't know what I was sipping, but I felt like I was doing fine. Oh my. Turns out that I just got a little bit south, just a little bit north of the Georgia line.
I know you heard of B. Will.
The Sports Section Morning Show.
TFTV Sports.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sports Section Morning Show, episode 23. 23, baby. A lot to talk about. We're going to dive right into last night's first game of the year. First game of the year for the NFL season. Detroit visited Kansas City, and there was a lot of Detroit fans at the game. I ain't going to lie. A lot of Detroit fans at the game. The Chris Jones and Travis Kelce list Chiefs. So it was basically the Mahomes show out there. Mahomes single-handedly almost beat Detroit. I ain't gonna lie to you. That defense that Kansas City had, they played decent without Jones, but his absence is noted and seen. You know, I just hope. Here's the thing. I don't give a damn if Jones gets paid. I don't give a damn if the Chiefs do well this year. But I need them to whoop Jacksonville next week. They play Jacksonville next week. I need Kelce back healthy. I need Chris Jones. You know, I don't need to see him selling no more burgers or buying people no more burgers. I need him eating burgers, getting his weight up for the game against Jacksonville because I need them to beat Jacksonville. If Jacksonville finds a way to play Kansas City without Jones and Kelce, I'm going to be heated, man. I'm going to be heated. That's going to irritate the hell out of me, boy. But to the game, man. First quarter started out slow. Everybody was talking about the under being at 26.5 for the half. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. And if so, that seems like it was pretty high. But irregardless, they didn't hit the over under. They didn't, come in over that. I think it was like 14-7, if I'm not mistaken, for the half. But Kansas City was doing what Kansas City does. Mahomes running around. His receivers looked absolutely just dreadful yesterday. Tony had a terrible game. Sky Moore had a drop late. I think he had a drop late on. And, they just weren't able to get anything going offensively. It looked out of sync. I remember in particular, Tony and I want to say Sky Moore were going in a mesh route, and right at that mesh point, Mahomes threw it. And Sky Moore is running right across Tony, flashes right across of him. And the ball just hits Tony in the abdomen. Like, Tony's like, what are you doing? Just the timing not being synced up. And, that makes me worry about the Titans, man, because the Chiefs, Reed is known to run a more strenuous and, intensive training camp off, at least offensively, with his quarterback stuff. Like, Mahomes played quite a bit more. He played a lot more than Tannehill did in preseason. And he still looked rusty, coming into this Thursday night game. And I get it's a short week of preparation and all. But, man, if Mahomes and them looking rusty, I can only imagine how Tannehill gonna look. That's just the God honest truth. But, the Chiefs, the defense looked the defense flew around and made plays. Secondary looked good, but you could tell there was gaps to be ran. You know, with the absence of Jones, that front, they were having to routinely have 5 down linemen in there just to supplement that. That's taking the guy out of coverage. So, you know, Detroit is early in the year, of course, but Detroit, they moved the ball pretty much at will against Kansas City. They just had I think they had a turnover in the red zone. I think there was a fumble. There was 100% a fumble in the red zone. And they weren't able to convert as much as they should have. You know, that's something that Goff and Johnson will take back to the drawing board and look at. But, you know, overall, the game, it was a really good game. Mahomes flying around doing Mahomes stuff. They just couldn't get it going offensively. And I don't understand why Reid, and, you know, who am I to question Andy Reid, but it's for the sake of conversation. It's 4th and 25 with 2 minutes and 7 seconds left. 2 minutes and you got 2 minutes and 8 seconds left, something like that. And you got 3 timeouts left. So 4th and 25. You punt that ball away and you get a timeout. So the offense, Detroit to come out. You got 4 times to stop them. The clock, the 2 minutes going to stop them after they get done with first down. And then you got 3 more timeouts to stop them. And you're going to get the ball back. We're looking at probably 1:30 just to kick a field goal. You know what I mean? So that was a really, really questionable decision for me to Andy Reid. Like, why are you going for that on 4th and 25? I know Matt Nagy, he ain't got nothing drawn up for 4th and 25, but Mahomes looked confident when he got the play call in. So I don't know what they had schemed up. They were obviously confident in the play call, but you got to be more confident that you're going to succeed in the situation than you are in that individual play call. The play can be as good as you want, but you're facing guys that are damn good. And you already got the odds stacked against you with 4th and 25. You don't convert that. You know, I can count on one hand in my life how many times I've seen teams convert, you know, 4th and 25, 4th and 30. You know, when the Titans had that stretch where they couldn't stop nobody on 3rd down, we had some times where he was getting converted on 3rd and 20, 3rd and 17. But that Detroit defense was looking good. They weren't gonna give that up. You punt that ball away, try and get a stop. And, you know, that's the thing when people say don't pay Chris Jones, don't do this. If you've got Chris Jones coming out at D tackle on the other side of the ball, you're more apt to punt that ball. They don't have Chris Jones. He sit up in a press box. That forces Andy Reid's hand like, man, I don't think this defense can get a stop. You know, that's in his head, you know. So that's why it's important to have your guys in place, man, because it makes it easier on everybody. If the presence of Chris Jones, a healthy Chris Jones in there, Andy Reid is feeling a lot better about getting a stop on the other side of the field instead of having to go for it on 4th and 25 with Patrick Mahomes. That not only makes the team better, it makes Mahomes better, makes the offense better, it makes the defense better, the presence of Chris Jones. He's such a dominant force inside that, you know, his absence, it really showed. It showed in the game, and it showed in the decision-making that Andy Reid made at the very end of that game. You know, really, really gave away the game because after they did that, it was over. You know what I mean? And, of course, you can say, well, the Kansas City still could have stopped them. Well, no, they really only needed, you know, 1 first down. So, and they needed that before, but the air is gone out of you. You take away all momentum when you miss out on that 4th and 25. You still at least got a chance at some momentum, like your defense running on the field, like it's on us, let's get a stop. No, you've taken all that out. You've taken all that out of the equation when you go for it on 4th and 25 and they're down there on your 50. You know, not even 50, I don't think. It was like the 40. Your own 40. So, you know, questionable decision by Andy Reid. I can't say that I quite agree with it, to be honest. But that's what happens when you don't have all your ballers out there and you don't have Chris Jones there, that you can have some confidence on the other side of the field with your defense thinking they can get a stop. It's just not present. But going forward, man, we need Chris Jones back. I say we as a Titans fan. We need Chris Jones back. We need Kelce back healthy. And we need them Kansas City receivers to do something. They were absolutely terrible for Jacksonville this coming week on Sunday. So they're going to have they're going to have 3 days extra rest in Jacksonville. So hopefully that'll give time for Kelce to get back. They said on the actual during the game, they gave an update, said he couldn't even put no pressure on his knee when he was in the pool. So that might be an issue. But how lucky would Jacksonville be if they managed to face Kansas City without Kelce and without Chris Jones? You know, that really irritate the hell out of me. But Kansas City, though, they're not going to they're not going to go 0-2. Like they're not going to be. This is probably the best case scenario for the Titans for Kansas City to lose to Detroit. You know, we're looking at that 1 seed. I ain't gonna lie. We looking at it, and we're gonna get to that 1 seed later on in the show. But this is probably best case for Titans for Kansas City to lose, and then them to have a little extra juice going into the Jacksonville week. That hey, we can't go 0-2. You know, NFL teams that go 0-2 do not fare well. I think Kansas City might have did that year that defense that quote unquote found out Mahomes. They got off to a really bad start that year, but I can't say if it was 0-2 or not. But yeah, it's hard to bounce back from 0-2 in the NFL. If anybody can do it, it's the Chiefs, of course. But they're not going to want to dig themselves that much of a hole and have to climb out with the not easy division that they have. They've got Sean Payton and Russell Inc. They've got the Chargers with the receivers they have. John Stone that came from TCU, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. So, that is not an easy division out there. And they got Vegas. So, not Brock Purdy, but Aiden McConnell. They say he's the guy. He's the guy. So, it's just going to be a difficult division out there for him. It's a difficult AFC. So getting behind the Buck at 0-2 is not something that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes want to even look at or be a part of, because it's going to be tough sledding getting back from that. But the first thing they got to realize is that these receivers they have, it's going to make it tough on Mahomes. If anybody, Mahomes is working with it as is. He made that crazy throw to Valdez-Scantling down the middle, one of the most insane throws of the year. That might be throw of the year already that we've seen from Mahomes. Going down the middle, fits it in between like 3 or 4 guys and puts it right in the breadbasket. Candidate for throw of the year. But the receivers he have just ain't up to par, man. They're not up to par. And it's showing in the game that with drops and such like that. Tony had a couple big drops. Sky Moore had a drop. So, it don't matter who you got at quarterback. You could have, the reincarnation of Joe Montana and Patrick Mahomes with a kid. And if your receiver's out there dropping the ball, it ain't going to work. So that's going to be something they have to look at. D-Hop came out and said that he offered himself to all them franchises. I think it was Vegas, San Francisco. Let me pull up the quote that D-Hop said. I had people sending it to me and shit, talking about he don't want to be in Nashville. No, he just wanted to test his options. Detroit, Dallas, San Francisco, even San Fran. And we all know he was publicly flirting with Kansas City in the free agency process, or his agent was, whatever the hell you want to. I don't even think he has an agent. But, he was broadcasting and marketing himself to them. But, they could have used him. And the only receiver I see on the market that Kansas could be of really good use to Kansas City, Mike Evans is obviously on the market. He can say all he wants that he doesn't care to leave Tampa Bay. But if an offer from Kansas City comes and they're going to pay him, that's something that he's gonna entertain. You can't doubt that. I'm sure he loves Tampa Bay and all that, but he don't love having Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball. I know he don't love that at all. So, and being one of the worst teams in the NFL, worse in the division. I ain't gonna say they're worse in the NFL, but it's gonna be a tough division for them. And tough for anybody in the NFC South, to be honest. It ain't really a pretty division, but they're going to have to look and see and get some receiver help. I think the Titans have Nick Westbrook-Ikhine available that they could look at. It'll probably take a first or second round pick from Kansas City to get Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, wide receiver 1. But we'll see, man. Kansas City got to figure something out. They got to figure something out. All right, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow getting paid. Reached an agreement on a 5-year, $275 million contract from the Cincinnati Bengals. Who dat? And as extension, make him the highest paid player in NFL history. Almost $220 million guaranteed, averaging $55 million, and he deserves every dollar. Deserves every single dollar. So, the Bengals, he's here to stay. Of course, he wasn't never going to go nowhere, but the Bengals are going to be a problem for the next 10, 15 years, man. They've just locked up their future. They're going to be a problem. Chase and Higgins are next. I think Higgins comes before Chase, but they got to find a way to lock up their 2 receivers, and then they can figure the rest the hell out. You know what I mean? You got them 3 cats, the rest will fall in place because they're going to keep you in games every game of the year. So, good on Kansas or good on Cincinnati. They went through it to get in this situation. A bunch of years of just terrible, terrible football, 8-8 football. When they were consistently 8-8, middle of the pack, just in a dungeon of averageticity. You know what I mean? So, good on the Bengals. I'm happy. I like Bengals fans, man. I don't care what anybody says. There was people on Twitter were talking about, I think Mina Keems, if that's how you pronounce her name. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Was arguing with Bengals fans, and Bengals fans were talking, or other fans were talking about Bengals fans like they're the absolute worst fans in the NFL. I think they're one of the best NFL fans in the NFL. Anytime Bengals Cincinnati came to town, which they've came a lot to Nashville over the last 3 or 4 years, I think 2 or 3 times, I've always had great experience with Bengals fans. Even after the playoff win, that was their first playoff win in I don't know how long, and they all acted cordial. On Broadway and everything afterwards, there was a ton of them, and they were all acting cordial. I mean, apologizing and everything. And that was a really traumatic night for Titans fans, myself included. It was a terrible night that night. But Bengals fans, they weren't obnoxious, rubbing it in or nothing. They were cordial. They were cool. They were like that before the game. They were like that after. So I ain't got nothing but good things to say about Bengals fans, to be honest. I don't see where all the hate comes from Bengals fans. You can't base your opinion off a group of people off their presence on Twitter. Like, that's idiotic. You can't. Twitter's not a real place. It's not, So you got some obnoxious Bengals fans on Twitter. That's not indicative of the whole fan base. And that's for any team. That's for the Vols Twitter. That's for Titans Twitter. That's for Arsenal Twitter over in England. It's not indicative of the fan base. That's really the most vocal minority that we have in the current days is the Twitter following of a team or of a group or of a person. Nothing is indicative. You can't form any view off Twitter. Nothing. The shit is basically a like imaginary Neverland type thing. But good for the Bengals fans. I'm happy for the Bengals. I hate that it's in the AFC. And I wish he was in the NFC, but they deserve that as much as they've been through over the last decade or two, really, since Carson Palmer left. Just a purgatory of rough football. Just terrible, where they were putting all their hope in Ohio State. So now they got a boy that went to Ohio State, one of their own from Ohio, and he's their quarterback. How can you hate on that? How can you be mad at a fan base for having that? That's amazing. That's like a quarterback from the Nashville area, goes to play for the Vols, comes back, plays for the Titans as a franchise quarterback for 20 years. You can't be mad at that. You can be nothing but happy for Bengals fans. So happy for Bengals fans. Good for them. They got to lock up Higgins. They got to lock up Chase. And if they don't lock up Higgins, he's going to be elsewhere. Titans might need to look at him. We got some cap space. I'd be happy to have Higgins. I'd pay him $22.5. He can get $22.5 from the Titans from me. Pair him up with Hopping him, but he'll probably get tagged next 2 years. So, that ain't going to happen. But wishful thinking. Speaking of the Titans, man. So, Titans go down to face New Orleans on Sunday at noon. Like I said, to start off the show, we'll be doing a live watch along. TFTV will on Twitch and YouTube at noon. So make sure you'll join that. We're going to have our fan sites afterwards. Fan sites interviews with the fans that are here present at the studio. So that's going to be a really good time. And it should be a really good game, man. So Derek Carr is going to be making his debut with New Orleans. I think John Gruden is down there helping out. He's been volunteering in some capacity. But, the Saints ain't no slouch. Very good defensively. And the offense is to be determined. They've got really good receivers in their core. They got Olave. They got Michael Thomas. They're missing Kamara due to suspension, but they have, I think, Jamal Williams, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. They signed a host of running backs to supplement Kamara's absence. But I don't think the running backs are going to matter because teams don't run on us. This is just not happening. They're not running on us. So they're going to have to beat us through the air, and the DBs are going to be in the spotlight from the get-go, from week one. Michael Thomas, Chris Olave. What is this young secondary going to do? What is Fulton going to do? What is McCreary going to do? What is our new addition, Sean Murphy-Bunting, going to do? We've got to, get hands on these guys, Olave, if possible. It's hard to, but we've got to get hands on Olave and Michael Thomas, get them off their rhythm with Carr, because they're still building a rapport with Carr. Obviously, he's only been there for an offseason, so that's not as smooth as it's going to be in, say, week 12. So good time to be playing a team with some talented receivers and a new quarterback like New Orleans, but the secondary still has to do their thing. And, you know, the pass rushers really can help the secondary more than the secondary can help the pass rushers. Them pass rushers can really get after the quarterback. We got a healthy Landry coming in, healthy Autry. Everybody's looking healthy, knock on wood. We've got to see some pressure on Derek Carr. He's not the most mobile quarterback. He can move, but he's not, you know, Lamar Jackson by any means. He's not Josh Allen. So if you get him off the spot, good things can happen for the Titans defense. And that's something I anticipate on seeing. I'm eager to see how well the Titans front four gets pressure without bringing any blitzes or blitz packages, how they'll go and with maneuvering with their stunts or just mano-a-mano, put your ears back and rush the passer. It's going to be interesting to see because we don't have Jim. If Titans fans forgot, we don't have Jim Schwartz anymore. He's the defensive coordinator in Cleveland. So he was a big part of, you know, we'd always got decent pressure on the quarterback. But with the addition of Jim Schwartz over the last year or so, he really helped that, and it was exponentially better with how much pressure we were able to get on the quarterback while only rushing 4. So that's going to be something to pay attention to, Titans fans. How well does this defensive line get home against quarterbacks, especially on 3rd and longs? We've added some pass rushing depth in Gibson from Chicago, and we've got Murphy, that we undrafted free agent that really shined in preseason with 2 sacks. Not to mention, we've got Autry, Landry, Arden Key pickup from Jacksonville. So Big Jeff, of course, and Tart. So a lot of D-line depth. They're going to be probably the most important position group on that. They will be the most important position group on that side of the ball, arguably across the whole team. That D-line, however, they're able to get pressure because they'll dictate the game, obviously. So we need them to stop the run. We need them to be able to get to the quarterback and get home consistently without having to bring extra bodies in to rush the passer because we need all the bodies we have in coverage, covering Olave and them. So that's the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, very eager to see what Tim Kelly does offensively. Derrick Henry, he was asking a press conference, is it a surprise or is it going to be something, you know, exciting? The unveiling of the new Titans offense, he said, you'll see, with a little smirk on his face. So we can expect some changes. I don't think we're going to have, you know, Chip Kelly style spread offense, no huddle. We're not going to have that. But it's going to be a stark difference from years past. We're going to spread, in my opinion, we're going to be spreading out defenses a lot more and hopefully having Henry in the backfield where he can really, you know, it makes it a little bit easier on him and causes the defenses to make a decision with what they want to do. Do they want to, you know, still crowd that box even though we've got, you know, 4 wide out, you know, split? Or are they going to, you know, man up these receivers or line up over top of them and leave maybe 1 or 2 linebackers inside and keep 6 in the box versus our 6? So it's going to be very interesting. Tim Kelly's going to be forcing the Saints defensive coordinator's hand, and it's going to be interesting to see where we go with that. I'd like to see Tyjae Spears get some good touches. He will be going back home. So he went to Tulane. That's around that New Orleans area, I think, or he has family around the New Orleans area. He's talked about it ad nauseum over the last week about how he's had so many people reaching out. So a home game for Tyjae Spears, I expect to see some good things out of him when he touches the ball. He's a really dynamic playmaker, and I can't wait to see what he does on 3rd down. We actually have a back that can threaten defenses on 3rd down. We haven't had that in a very long time. I can't remember the last time we had that, honestly. Yeah, I mean, you could maybe say McCluster back then, maybe. But the Titans, Dion Lewis was not that guy. So I'm not even counting Dion Lewis. But the Titans have not had a good 3rd down back in a very long time, that partly because we've been so reliant on our 1 back. But we've actually got some depth and a good trade and compliment to Derrick Henry and Tyjae Spears, and I'm really excited to see what he does this Sunday against New Orleans. Tannehill and D-Hop, the relationship with them two, we've got to see them coming out firing. We don't need to see any rustiness. Looks like Treylon Burks, he was a full participant in practice on Wednesday, so looks like I probably would assume that he'll be playing on Sunday. No restrictions because he hasn't had any restrictions in practice from what I've heard. So the receiving core is what it is. Of course, Glassman is out. Kyle Phillips, we're not going to have him he's on IR, so we're not going to have him for 4 weeks at a minimum. But still, a receiving core of Chig, D-Hop, and Burks is still threatening the defense when you add that to with Henry and Tyjae Spears in the backfield. That's still a very, you know, I can't say average, but a very threatening skill group to defenses. They're going to have to choose their medicine. So eager to see what D-Hop does in his first game as a Titan. He looks really quick in practice. He's looked great in practice. And we haven't seen him in any preseason games. So very eager to see how he does. And we'll see if Derrick Henry has another slow start this year. Notorious for having slow starts, not really getting going until October. But, with this maybe being his last year, he might have a little more incentive to get going pretty early. So, going to be very interesting to see what Derrick Henry does. Overall, I'd say that, for prediction wise, I'm predicting Titans 20, Saints 17. The line is at +3. Titans are underdogs against the Saints. Vrabel's 500 as an underdog. And I think they'll beat the Saints by 3 today. Or Sunday, I mean. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all's predictions are for the Titans versus Saints. What y'all think about the line, about the Saints being favored by 3 points. That's really just a home field advantage. Well, really a home field advantage is 1, so it's really a 2-point favorite, which really ain't nothing, to be honest. But I would press Titans money line, and really I'd press that spread too at 3. And a lot of other bettors are doing that. It's one of the more higher bet on spreads in the NFL this week. Y'all let me know in the comments on YouTube, on Twitch, what y'all's predictions are for the Titans versus Saints game, and what y'all's predictions for the Titans going forward for the rest of the year. How far do you think they'll end up? Do you think they'll make a run at the Super Bowl, run at the AFC Championship, run at the playoffs, or do you think they'll lose out on the division and not make a wild card? Y'all let me know in the comments. Make sure y'all subscribe on YouTube. Make sure y'all subscribe on Twitch. So that way y'all don't miss out on any content at all. Make sure y'all subscribe to our other podcasts at TFTV Presents, The Exit One Show on YouTube at Exit One Show, and on all socials at Exit One Show. You'll find this at TFTV Sports on all socials, TFTV.sports on Instagram, and then at TFTV Sports on YouTube. Same way you're watching this right now. Make sure y'all support, man. All right. Couple more things. So this is something that has really been irritating the hell out of me. I ain't gonna lie. So especially with the emergence of the monetization on Twitter, you're seeing a lot more BS and attention mongering trying to, and up and down the timeline. One thing in particular is making outlandish takes and predictions, knowing that they're not going to happen, acting like you actually genuinely believe it, and just letting the chaos happen. So I respect hustles, and I respect that hustle for one, but the integrity is gone. There ain't no more integrity out there, hardly any. And especially when I see shit like, credible NFL guys and podcasters, and even people, there was a guy from PFFF that did it. There's no way in hell y'all think the Jacksonville Jaguars will really be the first seed in the AFC. We're talking about a conference that has Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Ryan Tannehill. It's not happening. It's not happening. They're not coming in first in the AFC. They'd be lucky to come in first in the AFC South. So I don't know where the hell this is coming from. They're just trying to tap into Duval, Screwval. They're trying to tap into them and, feed on all that optimism going on down there in Jacksonville and Duval County. It's not happening. They're not coming in first seed in the AFC. Like I said, they'd be lucky to come in first in the AFC South. They've got some talent down there. Nobody's doubting that. But the only reason they're getting this recognition at all is because the Titans were injured and missing half their damn team last year on the stretch and lost 7 straight because we were playing with practice squad guys. If we would have beat them in the playing game, none of this talk would even be going on when we started Josh Dobbs. So we were at a terrible spot and still could have beat them and got in. It's just without our starting quarterback, without a lot of players that we was missing. So, it's all about farming engagement. I had to comment on it because it's really pissing me off seeing that, man. But, hey, man, that's the times we're in on Twitter with this engagement age. And people know the Jags ain't coming in first place in the first seed in the AFC. Stop saying this shit, man. It's getting ridiculous. Very ridiculous. So, on to the last point. We got Coach Prime facing Nebraska. Them in Colorado. Him in Colorado facing Nebraska on Saturday at Colorado. I think it's going to be the opening game of their 100th year season at that stadium. Hey, man, if Prime stay there a couple more years, they're going to have a new stadium with a dome and everything. They keep playing with Prime. Ain't going to be no more 100 years at a stadium. They might have a new one every 20 years. They keep playing with Prime. But, you know, facing Nebraska's going to visit. They lost 13-10, I think, to Minnesota last week. So they're coming in a little bit down. They were favored against Colorado earlier before Colorado won. So a lot of value. And I think they were favored up until midweek. But a lot of value betting wise on Colorado and a lot of money, a lot of action on Colorado. Makes me worried about betting on Colorado. When I see that much action on them, I know Vegas is going to have their hands in there, some meddling, doing something. I'm already knowing. So me personally, I wouldn't put any action. I wouldn't have any action on that Colorado-Nebraska game. It's going to be too much fishy shit going on. But if you believe, like Deion said, you believe. Throw the cheese on them. But eager to see how Colorado and Deion respond to all this, you know, positive attention that they not only warranted, but have received over the last 5-6 days nationally, locally, and, you know, all over social media. Deion's one that relishes in that pressure, but can his players do the same? Has he transmitted that energy to the players of, you know, channeling this pressure that they received into putting in a good performance on the field? I know he's done it with his sons, but has he done it with the rest of the team? That's something we're going to have to see. I'm predicting another Colorado win over Nebraska. I don't think it's going to be close, to be honest. It's 3 points, but I think Colorado can find a way to beat them by 10 or 17. Honestly, I'm going on record and saying that. Just so they got so much juice right now around the university, around the football team, around the stadium. And that atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. So I just see Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Coach Prime. I mean, I just see them relishing in that and transmitting that to their teammates and getting them to play fast and play and just ball out for Colorado. So y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think for the Colorado and Nebraska game. What are y'all predictions for the Colorado and Nebraska game? Do y'all think Colorado will win? Do y'all think they'll lose? How bad do you think they'll beat Nebraska if they beat them? And how bad do you think they'll lose if they lose to them? Y'all let me know in the comments. And make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the Twitch. All right. I think that's all we've got this morning, man. It's all we've got. Make sure y'all tap in with the Exit One Show. We just released episode 7 at Exit One Show on YouTube. It was hilarious, man. Make sure y'all tap into that. Live watch along coming on Sunday for the Titans and Saints game at TFTV Sports. You find that on Twitch and YouTube. Make sure y'all tap in with that. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. That way y'all see this and get some notifications. Cut them on too when we go live, because we can routinely go live, or when we have any videos and content that release. That way you can see it, and that's the best way to support us. So y'all do that. Y'all stay easy. Y'all stay cool. And y'all have a good one, man. Appreciate y'all.